Hello, my name is Manuel and I am a business analyst. I usually produce videos in Spanish, but today I'm going to do one in English. So my channel is called Analista de Negocios, but today I'm going to be talking about a topic called user story and its acceptance criteria. So this is just a brief overview of what a user story is, and it's accompanied by something that's called acceptance criteria. So for all of you that are just learning how to be a business analyst and want to get to know some basic fundamentals, I'll be posting a few more of these videos. So today's topic, as I said, the user story and the acceptance criteria. It's fairly straightforward. As you start out with your business analyst career, what you might be doing mainly is gathering requirements, right? And what you do is you usually sit down with the business or with the user, whoever it might be, right? You sit down, you're going to have a discussion, or maybe it's an email exchange. Maybe someone already did the interview and is giving you a summary of all the information, right? Existing documentation. And then you are going to organize it into something that's consumable for everyone to understand, whether it be the business itself or the development team, right? Your technical team, right? Everybody has to kind of understand what it is the project, right? The initiative is trying to accomplish, and that's your job, putting it all together. So one of the most the documents which you will create the most will be the business requirement document. And in this document, this was where you might place something like this, right? The user story. Another place where you're going to use it a lot if you're in the Agile world, right? So you are just primarily a support staff person who's taking in all of these new requests from the business, and you're trying to build something every 2 to 4 weeks, right? This is the other place where you're going to be using this kind of structure a lot, right? So the user story is simple enough. As you can see, it's composed of 3 items. So the first part is as a ... So this means as the person who's going to be using or going to be partaking in this part of the experience that you're building, right? It could be as a primary user, as the manager, as the president, as a warehouse worker, right? As a business analyst, right? You're gonna, that's what this part means. Then there's gonna be I want to. So here's where you're going to express the desire, what it is you're trying to accomplish as that user, right? I want to access this information. I want to see the information. I want to edit the information, right? Whatever it is, this is where you write it here. And then lastly, so that. So this is where you tell the team what is your purpose for why you want to do what it is you're trying to do, right? This is where you get to explain to the, like I mentioned, the stakeholders, the ultimate purpose of this particular requirement, right? So simple enough to write one, right? But it gets complicated because, and this is where the criteria down here at the bottom comes into play. The pitfalls are you make it too general, too broad, right? So people will begin to ask you questions, especially developers, because they know the system. They're diving into the code. They know the business rules probably a little better than you. They know the programming rules better than you, right? The logic. So they may come back to tell you, look, you can't really do this if, or if you do it, you're going to break this other rule. So you as a business analyst have to understand, right? Have to know the system more or less so that you can explain this and then ultimately make adjustments here to the user story itself, right? So here's a quick example here that we can break down as I go through the bottom piece. I wrote down, I don't know if you guys know Miro, but Miro is a nice little board you get to share a board online, right? And you get to collaborate with your fellow teammates or other stakeholders. and it's a nice way to edit information in real time when having someone there. So, I just made this up for as an example, right? So let's say I am a part of the Miro support team, and I find out somebody wants to change something in their favorites, right? So I would put down, as a Miro user, I want to view my favorite boards so that I can quickly access important work, right? So some of these words, right, are going to be going to help stand out why you want to, try and develop this new functionality, right? So you have to choose your words carefully. So again, you want to kind of express what it is that user wants to accomplish, right, with these words. You kind of get in their heads. So the way you can improve your work is by using what I call different other sources. I got this. It's called the INVEST rules, right? The INVEST criteria. So you want it to be independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small, and testable. So all of these will help you refine your user story and then ultimately the acceptance criteria. So independent, right? You want these stories to be able to almost, if you have a collection of these, let's say you're building a whole page, right? A page of new features or new buttons, new fields. You want it so that if you are pressed for time, you can actually take out everything else and just put in this one feature, and it won't affect anything else. If you can get it to that level of granularity, it's really good. It's best, right? Negotiable. So this means that, as the projects go on and you're going through these different features and functionalities, they can be done in different ways, right? So don't be too specific. Like, I want to see my favorites on the top right in a picture of a star with so-and-so, right? And I wanted to, when I cover it, I see a text. No, don't make it that specific. All of that has to be kind of laid out in the open so that there's this back and forth between the development team, right, and the business. And then through that, you get to, come to this happy medium. Because if you do it your own way, then the business is not going to be happy. And if the business gets their way and it becomes too specific, it just becomes too problematic and sometimes too time consuming to create what they're trying to, what they have in their mind. Valuable. Obviously, there has to be some value behind what it is you're creating, right? So you have to talk to the business, the stakeholder who's requesting this, and say, look, what is the value proposition? Am I getting, quicker, getting to a piece of information quicker? Am I, is it just the experience overall? It's going to enhance the experience, right? It looks prettier, right? Or it's going to save you a bunch of steps. So that you have to show here at the last piece of the statement. Then estimable, right? So, as you work with development teams, they know how long it's going to take, right? To, let's say, create a page, create buttons, create the overall page design, right? Or if you're just going to overhaul the entire data process flow, right? They know it in the back of their heads. So by making it simple and clear enough, they are able to do that piece of work in their heads and give you feedback. Look, this is going to be 2 weeks, or this is going to be 2.5 weeks. Maybe we need to break this down into something a little simpler, right? Then small and testable. They kind of go a little bit hand in hand, right? So, small enough where it's going to fit in your development cycle, right? So like I mentioned, some of you may start working in agile environments. So it depends on the level of complexity or the project, right? Or the cadence, as it's called. You might do 2-week sprint cycles or 4-week sprint cycles, right? I think are the most common nowadays. And so you needed to have your user story, your functionality fit within those 2 weeks. so that the development team gets to do their work, you get to test it, you get to show it to the business and they're happy, and then you release it, right? And then that curtails into the testable, right? Which is you test it. You're going to be able to take this user statement, create, a UAT scenario, outline the steps so that you can test it, and then eventually the business stakeholder can test it, and then they're happy, they sign off, and you release it out to the general, for the general user base, right? So these have been useful to me in reminding me, hey, do I have enough? Do I need to make a little more specific or less specific, right? Now, apart from this is the acceptance criteria. So these are additional items that you place below the user story, and I'll probably make another video to give examples of what acceptance criteria is. But think about it as the boundary, right? The gate. So, with this statement, right, the Miro user, I specifically said Miro user, right? So you don't want just any old user, let's say, who's visiting, to be able to see these favorites, right? You don't want fellow teammates to see your favorites, right? You just want to see your own. You don't want managers. You don't want your daily users, again, to see your favorites. So that's something you would put in the acceptance criteria. It's only viewable for yourself, or let's say if you want to share it, right? Only if you share it with somebody, somebody is going to see those favorites, right? So that's one type of boundary that you're placing. Another obvious one is a user needs to be logged into Miro, right, for them to even get access to this item. Even though it's obvious, you still want to write it in because it's part of the documentation process, right? Somebody can come back later, especially I see this when you contract the work out to other vendors, right? Development vendors, they don't know the system like you know the system, and they may inadvertently, because you left it out, they may leave something open where they should not, right? So that's where you place all of these different boundaries, these different even functional rules, right? It needs to be accessed by so-and-so seconds, it needs to be available so-and-so part of the time, things like that, right? It has to be available for mobile, right? Not just web, right? So you put all of those items there in the acceptance criteria, and when you have that, you pretty much have your basis for a good user story. Okay, so that's my explanation. Like I said, I'll probably make another video regarding the acceptance criteria, and yeah, I hope that you find this useful and that it helps you get started on your career.